So this one is the aforementioned promised timeline microanalysis of the state of California. And not just California, I could do other states as well. By state or even just nationwide statistics as to why marijuana is bad regardless of legality. Whether it's illegal or not, it's bad for any population. But let's look at California. And I know ahead of time the aggressive liars on the internet, or the stupid people who believe the things they say without exercising the intelligence to know the things they say are lies, will say correlation does not equal causation. There's no way I can prove that marijuana caused Californication. And therefore, there's no way we can disprove it. Therefore, there's no way we can know. Therefore, just forget that even thinking of marijuana as a causal component to the decline of California. Right? Just ignore the fact that marijuana legalization was the precedent, the harbinger to like so many bad things happening in California. When was California marijuana legalized? Well, even before legalization in the state of California, there was a lot of wars, literally, between law enforcement and marijuana growers. And this included marijuana growers murdering each other and marijuana users murdering marijuana growers to steal the marijuana. It's so bad. There's a Netflix special called Murder Mountain. Marijuana junkies lie so much. Dude, weed just makes you chill and hungry. It doesn't cause violence. Yeah, then why is there a Netflix documentary about murders caused by marijuana called Murder Mountain, where they grow marijuana on the mountain and everybody murders each other for marijuana? That's a fun one in itself for me, to ask all these junkies, right? Tell me how the marijuana user murdering the marijuana grower or marijuana dealer, the marijuana distributor or manufacturer, to steal the marijuana had nothing to do with marijuana and wasn't caused by marijuana. The mental gymnastics on that one are fun. So if the government was moral, which it's clearly not, the government would be saying these things instead of me, and would be enacting laws to enforce anti-marijuana legislation, which includes removing it from, Hollywood, media, etc., to reduce use, regardless of legality. It's not. That's a red flag in itself onto how fucking corrupt the government is. What sort of government hates its own people so much to just do this for profit? To profit off the suffering and deaths of its own people, right? Wild stuff. California doesn't just have Murder Mountain. One of the many broken promises of marijuana legalization in California was that it would weaken the black market, eliminate the black market, destroy the black market. Marijuana pushers are liars. Whether it's illegal or not, the black market thrives. The black market has grown stronger in California. What did they legal 2014, 2012, around there? The black market has grown stronger during legalization. But there's some other things. San Francisco. Perfect example of how marijuana destroys a place. Same with Oregon. You can look at Portland or any of the areas in Oregon. Same with Washington State. Same with Colorado. Colorado and California and all these other states. Let's focus on Colorado for a sec. Colorado, their justification for legalizing a drug that causes so much harm to its own population was the tax money that it generated, which they put into schools. Yet, just like California and all these other states, the literacy rate and graduation rate declined with legalization despite all this money going into schools. It seems like all the money and all the legislation in the world can't make the harmful effects of marijuana non-existent. Right? Can't just wave a magic wand and make it go away. Oh, we threw money at it. Oh, we legalized it. Oh, it's still causing harms, and proving that criminalization is far, far superior in terms of reducing and harm reduction on a population. It's not just dropping out and a decline in literacy rate. This means there's that much less employable population. There's a term for it. There was an actual study done about this specific thing. And this means that much less taxpayers, that much less, income generators. New Mexico is a good example of this as well. So when you have more people on welfare than employed, right, when your negative outweighs your positive, same with socialism, communism, etc., when you have more consumption than production, it's unsustainable. You're going to collapse. In Connecticut, they did a economic analysis before legalizing and figured out it was a 4-to-1 rate. For every $1 the marijuana industry makes, the state taxpayer costs $4. $4 a cost from incarceration with the increase of violent crimes as a direct result of legalization. Washington State, you can Google all this stuff. I know the cannabis industry watches my videos. They'll put money into Google, and Google will be the prostitute and rig the results. But when I Googled this stuff recently, Washington State's homicide rate went up 56% as a direct result of legalization of cannabis. That was a state-conducted study. 56%. That's not a small number. That's insane. Population reduction? Maybe. Eugenics plus profit? Just like the opiate crisis? Maybe. I don't know. But not just homicides and all the other stuff, but suicides, vehicular fatalities, increased institutionalization of cannabis-induced psychosis, emergency room visits and things like that. That's gone up in every state as well. That's legalized. California. Not only that, the increase of homelessness and welfare dependence, the increase of violent crime, and so forth and so on. It's no longer illegal to knowingly infect someone with HIV in California. How am I not supposed to assume that is one of the many downstream consequences of legalizing marijuana? There's no way a healthy, normal, sane population would accept this from their own government, this sort of legislation. But when you throw marijuana on the timeline, right? California, 1990s. A little more sane, a little more rational. It wouldn't let that legislation pass. There would be blood in the streets. You're not going to let the homos give AIDS to other homos by lying about their history, right? And so it was actually made a felony, I believe in the 90s. I'm just guessing though. I could be wrong. And that's because AIDS really, what started in like the 80s, I think. Let's find out real quick. When did giving AIDS become a felony in California? Now I know they lowered the penalty. I'm not asking that. That was 2017. It's not telling me when it was passed. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway. California HIV partner notification laws. It is a misdemeanor, right? September 2020. It's not telling me when it was passed. There's no way that would have passed if marijuana didn't turn the goyim, the sheep, the voter, turn their brains into jelly, just moldable, pliable, manipulated, easily to manipulate. I guarantee that's the timeline, right? So many things are happening right here that never would have happened in the 1950s. And not just gay marriage and transgender rights and trans kids. Marijuana isn't the only causal component. It might not even be the primary causal component, but it is a significant contributing factor. If it's, in my opinion, it's primary because if you look at that culture, the culture of porn and, homosexuality and just all the things that are, all the hedonism, right? The hedonistic culture, the hypersexualized hookup culture of drug abuse and addiction. Marijuana has been the foundation of that, at the core of that, since the 1960s. And you can observe all this in the media from the 1960s. Whether it's legal or not, it's bad. If we were to decriminalize pedophilia, would you say, oh, well, it's legal, so it must be moral? The government does my thinking for me, and they said marijuana is harmless. Yeah. Is that how dumb the average American consumer / voter is? Well, I vote with my dollars. Californication, right? The STD rate per state, I'm willing to bet, was pretty high in California, to the point where the government had to intervene. And so that becomes a question in itself, right? Can I trust Google results, to be honest? But actually, I'm really hungry and I should get back to studying. STD rates per state, because I guarantee you every state that has legalized marijuana has had an increase in STD rates. Would you look at that? Absolutely. Oh, state syphilis rates. California. California's up there. The darker, the worse. It's just syphilis, though. And that's a .com site. I don't know if I buy the .com site. But yeah, in all of these results, California's like the worst. The most Googled STD in every state. STD statistics 2023, 2021. Yeah. Anyway, I should get to eating.